If you're a creator, a culture builder, or someone who wants your work to matter long after you're gone, then this episode is for you.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion, my words got power, my thoughts have action, motivation, stay gracious, that's greatness, be audacious, motivation, be audacious, innovation, be audacious, inspiration, be bold, motivation, be audacious.
And she said, you are the big red alarm clock. And I thought about that. I said, that's a beautiful metaphor. I said, because think about what an alarm clock does. It wakes you up. It doesn't tell you what to wear. It doesn't tell you what to have for breakfast. It doesn't tell you go to work or stay home or go to school. It doesn't say cancel your doctors. It wakes your behind up. Once your behind is up, then it's up to you. I'd walk and the brothers would say, you got to get searched. I said, good. And it's another brother would come. He said, that's Brother Ernie. He don't get searched and he don't pay. That's Brother Ernie. After a while, it was just Brother Ernie. I wouldn't even say nothing other than, give them the greeting. And I look at him and I'm like, okay, I'm a fanboy. So what? And he gets up and he walks over to me and I go to shake his hand, he pushes my hand aside and hugs me.
Oh, God, man.
And I told him, I said, without you, there'd be no me. Without you, there'd be no us. Without you, there'd be no hip hop, period. And I said, I'm not copying what nobody said. I'm telling you what I know.
Let me ask you something. Are you just doing the work or are you preserving history? You see, here on the Audacious Living Podcast, our goal is simple. It's to help you live your best audacious life ever by stepping fully into the gifts that you've been given and using them boldly. And today's guest is someone who did exactly that. Brother Ernie Paniccioli isn't just a photographer. He is the visual historian of hip hop. He documented legends before they were icons, from Biggie's final words to Grandmaster Flash acknowledging that without those photos, there'd be no visual history, to Malcolm X's daughters calling him the big red alarm clock because he wakes people up. Ernie has been at the center of culture, courage, and truth for a very, very long time. This conversation isn't just about hip hop music. It's about legacy. So now that we got you all set, let's get into it. First and foremost, and I just press record. We're going. We're just going. And so first and foremost, this conversation is long overdue in some sense, but I also believe in the timing of life and things happen when they should. So I'm not looking at going, oh man, we should have done this. That's not what I'm saying. But it's very clear to me, Ernie, that the place that you have, anyone else. It is truly is. And the thing is, I'm saying this, but it's not like I'm the only one saying this. The people that were there were saying this. I've heard Chuck D say that. I've heard Queen Latifah say that. I've heard Karis One say that. Like, I've heard a bunch of people who've said that.
Will Smith did a commercial for my book with Latifah.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's right. They did.
My mind. I was like, that can't be.
That's right. So let's kind of, for those that don't know Ernie, right? Because not everyone's gonna, there's people, who's this Brother Ernie guy that all these who's getting all giddy over, right? Like, who is this guy, right? And I had the good pleasure, just kind of history. I had the good pleasure. You came to Toronto to do a talk. I had a chance to spend some real good quality time with you, and that was a few years ago. And that's never left me, Ernie. Like, it really hasn't. Like, that the time we spent a lot of good quality time together, and that's how I really got to understand you as a man, as who you are, and the impact that you've had on others' lives, even just beyond hip hop. And so, maybe as a starting point, because this is going to be okay, we're intrigued with this Ernie guy, and he's got all these pictures, and he's been around these legendary artists. Maybe if you can give our listeners, our viewers, an idea of sort of where it all started for you, because that camera you've had in your hand and what you've seen through the lens of that camera has just been, it's been incredible. And I'm sure people would appreciate, kind of understand where you got started, what it was that you had done, and how you're able to do the way you did in such a, I'm going to use the word audacious style.
I think you like that word.
I do.
You were born with it. Listen, I'm going to wrap this up, not wrap it up, but I'm going to try to encapsulate who I am, how it happened. I grew up poor without a father, without any strong male figures in my life. No money, half the time. Just terrible. I'm sure I'm not the only one, and it's nothing everybody or a lot of people haven't gone through. However, I had a strong mother. I would go to school and come home. She said, "What you learned today?" I tell her. She said, "That's bullshit. Columbus didn't discover anything." And just here's a 7-year-old kid getting history lessons. She had a third grade education. She read every book in the library and
Right.
understood and told me about Spartacus and how you would get arrested on the trains in New York if they caught you with that book Spartacus.
Yeah.
Of course, they made a jive movie and so on, but that was part of it. Also, I grew up in Brooklyn, and I saw if you had money, certain things were cool. You know, the police didn't bother you, or you could get away with shit, you know, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So I understood the economic thing, and I understood if you wanted a job, you had to pay for a job to get a job, to have a job, you know, and so on and so forth. And I was never lazy, and I was always hungry for something. So a lot of times food, a lot of times truth, a lot of times justice, a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
and I think things piss me off more than the average kid seeing injustice.
Right.
And the I grew up in a gang area, and one day I was getting beat by 4 or 5 guys. The next thing I know, there's this 2 or 3 brothers beating the dog shit out of them, and
Mm.
they said, "Would you like to join a gang?" Yes.
For a second, Ernie, can you turn, is there a way to turn up your mic a little? You got very low. I don't know if there's a volume on your end. You got very low a second ago.
Is that better?
Yeah, okay, keep going.
Okay. So, you know, I knew the streets,
Yeah.
but my mother made sure that I had a love for books and also a hunger for truth, not the homogenized, pasteurized pap they give you in school.
Right.
So I had her, and she was what you now would call a radical or leftist or, you know, an agitator, but she wasn't. She was a reaction to a racist, backwards ass system. In the United States,
Right.
they don't want you to teach about slavery. Now, think
Mm.
just for a second. You go to sleep tonight and you have a dream, and in that dream, you're a slave. Think about what I'm about to tell you. And you have a mother, you have a sister, you have brothers and sisters, and they come and they sell your mother or the sisters or your brother,
Right.
or they beat them randomly. And you can't do jack because there's no laws for you.
Right.
Now think about that. Now they don't want you to know about. Okay, people are so geeked out on sports and drugs and bullshit now that you know it don't matter if you take away reading from people because they don't read anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Think if reading opens portals
Yes.
and history defines what can happen to you, what is happening to you, and
Yes.
that slavery went from a physical manifestation in bracelets and chains
Yeah.
to economic.
Yes.
There are people who were born, will live, and die in economic slavery,
Mm-hmm.
servitude. Now, when I was in the black women's schools in Georgia, I remember the BCUs I remember somebody, I was there with some brilliant professor, and he was talking, and he was, expounded on slavery, and they didn't know who I was, and I was there, and we're in this big auditorium, and I was half somewhere in my own zone, and I got up and I
Hmm.
said, "None of you know me, and none of you really care, and it doesn't matter, but I'm going to tell you something." And of course, you're going to throw me out of here, have me arrested, probably have me committed. But there were no
Mm.
slaves.
Right.
So all these people that are fumbling with their paper and talking to each other and play, what did he just say? I said, in case you didn't hear me, there were no slaves. And I said, what I'm going to tell you next is going to change your life.
Mhm.
Of course, this man's crazy. The fuck does he know? And I said, if any of you know geography, show me a place on the earth called Slave.
Right.
Slovenia. No, there were no slaves. There were people that were put into, and this is going to change your concept.
Hmm.
People that were put into a condition of slavery.
Right. Right. Yep.
I'm going to say that again. They were people, fathers, mothers, sisters, doctors, lawyers, farmers, artists, fishermen. They
Yep.
were put into a condition of slavery. Now, that might not change your life, but it'll change your perspective. And what I'm going to tell you next will change your life. That the same people and the same system that put you into that condition is manifested here now, economically, and that they have just as little respect for you as a human being and for you being alive as they did then.
Mm.
And I sat down. I didn't talk for the next 45 minutes. I just sat there.
Right.
And I don't know what the other speaker said, but he looked like he wishes he was anywhere but in that room because he knew whatever he said would be forgotten before
Yep.
he finished saying it. We were put into a condition
Yep.
of slavery. The people who instigated that system are still in charge, and we are committing genocide and suicide
Hmm.
by misusing gifts that were given to us, such as our
Right.
ability to write, our ability to speak, hip hop, and so on. And you see how it's been consistently pushed into a self-hating medium.
Right.
Well, here I come. And I sit there, and all of a sudden, everybody starts sitting more erect, and everybody starts getting more correct.
Right.
And they start watching how they speak around me. And they start thinking, what if he's correct?
That's right.
What if he's just not being audacious? What if he's not just trying, you know, to keep us awake for the next 45 minutes while this guy rambles on incoherently?
Yep.
And
What
then
if?
at one point, when everybody's intellectualizing, I'll point to one person, say, stand up, please. I said, okay.
Hmm.
What do you think of what I said? It's brilliant. I said, yeah, forget that. Do you want your children to be in that condition? You have a chance to change the dynamic, the economics, and the
Right.
system and the structure. And you worry about who's winning the football game.
Right. Right.
You worried about what sneakers you're going to wear tonight.
Hmm.
You're going to worry, is that beat move you? Then I get real quiet. Everybody's like, I wish I was anywhere but here, because here I got to think. And if I think, then I got to start accepting the fact that we are in a condition.
Hmm.
How's your life? How's your day, brother?
Fantastic. No, but I get. Listen, it's very clear, and for me, one thing that's been always been very clear in my mind with respects to you is that, quite frankly, you're the truth teller, right? And you're I think it's so ironic that you are, you're known for that photography, for a camera, right? Because what you see and when you look at that lens, it doesn't lie. It's the truth, right? And that's very much what you've always been.
Well, I gave up many, many years ago caring about how people see me or if they understand
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
yeah.
I am a messenger. And years ago, some young sister gave me a title that I never forgot. She said, there are poets, there are actors, there are sports figures, she went on. And she said, you are the big red alarm clock. And I thought about that. I said, that's a beautiful metaphor. I said, because think about what an alarm clock does. It wakes you up. It doesn't tell you what to wear. It
Right,
doesn't tell you what to have for breakfast. It
right.
doesn't tell you go to work or stay home or go to school. It doesn't say cancel your doctors. It wakes your behind up. Once your behind is up, then it's up to you, your spiritual, mental, intellectual, which way you're going to go.
Sure.
Calling me the big red alarm clock was very appropriate, but not but a big red
Yeah.
alarm.
No,
I'm
no.
not I'm not the anything. You know, I don't want to be you know, this or that. No, but think about that. So being an alarm clock, all I do is wake you up. I just tell you the truth.
Yes.
I
And
tell you,
that's what I'm saying. That it's ironic that the camera is your thing because it's been the truth. It always has been the truth. And so for listeners to better understand how you got started on the path that you did, we're talking the beginning of a culture that you were there for. You participated in. You were documenting visually. Where did that come from? When did you realize you had to do this and then make it your mission? Was it something you stumbled on? Help our listeners understand how that sort of started for you.
okay, I hit the streets at 13. I'm not recommending anybody to do that. Some people can't deal with the streets at 30. I hit the streets and I got a master's degree and two PhDs in the street,
Mm,
not in any school. PhD, poverty, hunger, and despair. Okay, PhD.
mm,
And I was in Greenwich Village during the 60s, which is the most fertile time. There were jazz musicians, Bob Dylan, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Jimi Hendrix. All these people would be walking by you. And one
right.
of them that I became a brother with was Richie Havens, because we're both from Brooklyn. We're both ass out. We're both hungry. And yes, back then I was skinny. And we used to do a lot of things. And he was 6, 7 years older than me. And he taught me how to draw and paint.
Okay.
And he taught me positivity. I said, damn, I'm hungry. He said, that's okay. I'm cold. That's okay. It'll be warm soon. Stuff, just, and he introduced me to a whole different world, a whole different level.
Hmm.
I fancied myself an artist because I wanted to be an artist. And the minute I said I wanted to be an artist, I ended up spending 2 days with Salvador Dalí. And I knew I had to be an artist, even though I didn't know what an artist was.
Right.
And then, yeah, baby, I'm home. There's food out there. I put it. Okay. I ended up spending 2 days with Salvador Dali. I knew I had to be an artist, and that was the way. That was the germ of the seed that started me. However, I had at some point to go out and get a job,
Hmm.
and I lived in Brooklyn, and Brooklyn was rough.
Yeah.
People said it's poetic and this and that, and that wasn't poetic.
They're lying to you. It was rough.
Biggie said two contradicting things. He says, show love is the Brooklyn way. And the other thing he said, that Brooklyn bullshit were on it. So you had that dichotomy, okay?
Yeah.
So uh, I remember going to the trains to go to work and seeing graffiti everywhere. And not just Leroy was here, but art. And I was like, damn. So I started bringing people around to see it. And when I get there, it'd be gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I borrowed a camera and I started taking pictures.
Gotcha.
And the kids would see me coming, 5050, and I'd run because I'm, like you,
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
big guy.
yeah.
And no big guy, no adult would care about graffiti. They wouldn't care. So I must be 50. I wasn't 50.
Right.
And one day this kid came up to me, came up to about my chest, and he said to me, he said, I ain't scared of you. That's good. He said, I see you all the time, man. Every time we start to paint, you over there. You ain't got nothing. I said, yeah, I got something to do, but I respect what you're doing. He said,
Mm.
he's giving me a hard time. But I loved the kid because he had so much grit.
Sure.
He was like, so I talked to him, and he was a white kid. He was an Irish kid, and he told me, my father's a cop. My brother's working the transit, all this. And he said, I have keys to everything. I said, keys? He says, yeah, to the trains. He took me to abandoned train stations. He took me places that none of the graffiti artists and none of the people could even know about. I got pictures by Lee in an abandoned, a whole subway system.
Right, 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 right.
Little kid. I forget his name, and I wish if I ever see him, I'm going to buy him the biggest dinner he ever had. And of course, he's a grown ass man now, probably a father, grandfather. I don't know. So pretty soon, I was one of the cats with a camera, and there were not that many. The difference between me and them was I had the balls to go anywhere. Anywhere I went was no better or no worse than where I live.
Right.
It's not like, oh, that's a scary neighborhood. Oh, there's gangs. Oh, there's drugs. Well, so what?
You had your PhD already. You're good.
Yeah, mine was poverty, hunger, and despair. So it was like that's the same. To me, it just meant it was Tuesday.
Right, right.
Oh, they're having a rumble. So okay, it's Tuesday. Oh, they're shooting at each other. That means it's Wednesday.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and because of that, I was able to gain access. And because of that, and like you, I'm a big guy. Let's not underestimate the effect that has on people.
Right.
It alters perception. It
Sure.
alters.
Absolutely. I get it.
Yeah.
And you use it. Like I know I do. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And plus, I've even seen not so big guys with a certain they got that Mike Tyson look, like I'm going to eat your liver,
Right.
sucker. And you're like, whoa. So it's not always about this.
Yes.
It's, but if you got this and that,
Yep.
whoa.
Yep.
I'd be like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
whoa. I've seen, Mike Tyson's a perfect example. I'm going to tell you a story about Mike Tyson. Now I'm going to. One night I called him. I had his number. Me, him, Big Daddy Kane. There was a bunch of us that used to hang in the clubs. Us be at the same time. So I called him, and it wasn't late. It was like 8 o'clock. He said, "Who this?" I said, "Ernie." "Ernie who?" I said, "Ernie the photographer." He said, "What do you want?" I said, "I want to apologize." He said, "What you do?" "You didn't do nothing." I said, "Yeah, I beat you in the third round." I said, "The fuck you talking about?" What is it? What the fuck you talking? I said, "I saw you on TV last week, and you said, if you even think about beating my ass, you better call and apologize." He laughed for like 5 minutes, then he cursed me out. I won't repeat what he said. I said, "I made you laugh, though." But it's true. I did beat him in the third round,
Yeah, yeah.
but it was in a dream.
That's it. That's
I,
okay too.
I used to box. I wouldn't fight him with your hands.
I know. Yeah.
If you handcuffed him and tied him up and put him in a room and locked the room, I wouldn't fight him.
Still wouldn't do it.
It was just,
I hear you.
again, it's not this.
No, no,
Because
no,
all
no.
boxers are, and all boxers are tough and all boxers. No. If you ever saw what I saw when
Mhm.
you were talking to him, there's that feral look. There's like looking in the
Yes.
eyes of a tiger. I
Yes.
used to go to the zoo and look in the eyes of the tiger, and the tigers would come over and, what's this
Yep.
guy looking at? And they would make contact with you, and they wouldn't move.
No.
They wouldn't even move. And it's like the bars don't exist in their head. They were
Yes.
ready. And he had that look.
Yes, yes, yes. No, I know exactly what you're talking about, and that's what made him who he was, right? Sure, he was a great fighter and all the other tools, but he had that it that you're describing, and I agree with you. Um, so you I think I appreciate the picture that you've given in terms of how you got started. And I know this that a lot of what you in terms of your work and the pictures you took, a lot of those and the kind of access that you had to be able to do this was really based on the relationships. I wonder if you could speak about how important those relationships were to do what you were able to do.
People tend to overlook the effects of Malcolm X, Minister Farrakhan, and Minister Conrad, and Minister Muhammad. The brother Khalid Muhammad, he would hang out with me and Ice Cube and Chuck D and so on, and I'd be standing there, I'm in my own, and he'd come up to me like this close. He says, "Stand up straight. You're a man, goddammit. Let me see them shoulders back." I said, "I'm tired, brother." He said, "Stand up straight." And there was this combination of love and anger,
Mm-hmm.
because he wanted to see me male.
Yeah.
Now, I would go to the clubs at night, and in order to get pictures of the different shows and the different rappers and all the rappers that would come to hang out, you had to get into the club. I didn't have $50 to get into the club. I didn't have $25,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't need it. I'd walk, and the brothers would say, "You got to get searched." I said, "Good." And it's another brother would come. He said, "That's Brother Ernie. He don't get searched, and he don't pay. That's Brother Ernie." After a while, it was just Brother Ernie.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even say nothing other than, give them the greeting, the salam, and I would get in.
Right.
All these other photographers out there trying to, "Oh, I'm shooting for so and so and so." We don't care. We're not going to let no more photographers in. So again, these same cats, I can't underestimate the effect that being related to the mosque had for me. Being one of the, I'll tell you a crazy story. Only a few people will understand unless they know who Khalid Abdul Muhammad was.
Mm-hmm.
He was the hip hop minister. He was it. And one night I'm backstage and he's getting ready to go on, and a bunch of rappers were back there. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, good, I hope he goes out there, because that means I could get a couple of minutes sleep, because I was working a day job.
Mm-hmm.
Comes up to me with that look. He said, "Brother, you're going to open up for me tonight." I laughed. I knew he was joking. I said, "Brother, I know you don't get high." I said, "And I know you're not in a joking mood. Why would I open up for you? How could, I said, "I can't even imagine that." try, come on,
Hmm.
save that. And he said, would you rather go on after me? Now that's called checkmate where I come from.
I like that.
That's
He
called
gave he
checkmate.
gave you the option.
Yeah, he said, would you like to go on after me? So I was like, oh man. I was like, oh man, I don't believe that.
Mm.
First time I spoke publicly in hip hop. And after that, it was just like,
Do you remember what you said? Wow. Hmm.
do I
Man.
remember what I said? I know what I wanted to say.
Hmm.
I know what I did say. I said, I came out here to give you the greeting, but this man, he's going to take you where you may never have been before, and he's going to make you understand. Okay, these two brothers,
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Gregory.
and who's next to him? Mr.
I'm
Greenlee,
not who's I'm not
Sam
making it out.
Greenlee, Sam Greenlee. He wrote the spook who sat by the door,
Okay, okay.
and his he was blacklisted literally out of Hollywood for the next 25 years, and
Right.
then some young brothers on some of them campuses did their research and found out who they was.
Hmm.
He became a hero before he passed. Now here's two figures with my medallion.
Love it. Wow.
Angela Davis and Yassine Bey.
Yep. Yep.
This is
Yep.
what I do.
Most
I'm
deaf.
letting you know. I could tell you who I am all day, but this is the mathematics.
Well, absolutely, and I think that's what makes your story so powerful, right? You don't have to open your mouth for anyone to have any idea who and what you're about and what you've done. The part that I'm curious about, so when you look at hip hop today and what it's become, right? We know it's not underground no more. It's mainstream on a level that you can never imagine. When you sort of think about being at the very early stages of what it is now, what kind of thoughts or what comes to mind when you sort of think about where you're at and where it's at now?
Being a father and being a grandfather
Hmm.
reminds me the same about hip hop.
Right.
You get this beautiful, chubby little child that changes its diaper, it's laughing, and no matter what you do, you're the coolest person on earth.
Yeah.
And you and that child, the child can sneeze and it looks funny. Well, that child grows up, and that child has emotional, psychological, financial, and intellectual needs.
Hmm.
And unless, as a father or mother, you're there to meet those, then the baby goes where the baby goes. And that's why you have so many situations now, because you have generations of young men and women who were not given that nurturing
Right.
that they need. And hip hop is the same way. And I think it was KRS-One that said, if it's a mirror, I believe it was him who said, hip hop, no, I think it was Most Def. He said, Yassine Bey, he said, if we're whack, hip hop's going to be whack. If we're violent, hip hop's going to be violent. You
Mhm.
remember. And he said, basically, if we're out of sync, it's going to be out of sync.
Right.
So it's a reflection of us, but it is us. And it's us in a different form. I was
Yes.
blessed to have met the people who created the genesis of hip hop. And I'm not talking about Grandmaster Flash and all of them and Melly Mel. Yes, those are my brothers. Yes, we're cool. I'm talking about being around Gil Scott Heron,
Mhm.
who, if there was a man that was responsible for hip hop,
Yeah.
a man, a person, it would be him. I was
Mhm.
around the Last Poets as recently as a few months ago. We received some tribute together, and people think it's the Sugar Hill Gang. No,
Mhm.
Last Poets. It was Gil Scott Heron. It was Nina Simone.
Right.
when Nina Simone said Mississippi, Mississippi, goddamn, and your skin breaks out in goosebumps. You have to understand. Let me take you into the part about Christians.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, he's about to get no, I'm not.
You good?
In the Bible, in the beginning, very first, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. If you could
Mm-hmm.
get past that passage, you didn't really read it.
Right.
The Word.
Yeah.
What is hip hop? The essence of it. It's the word. That's why Gil Scott Heron was able to plant the seed.
Yeah.
That's why the last poet said certain people have a God complex.
Yeah.
And certain people are afraid of revolution. See, I don't want to muddy the water here on your podcast, but certain people are afraid they party and bullshit and party and bullshit, and
Yeah.
they're afraid of revolution. They will change their hair color. They will change, they change from male to female, you know. Last poets, Gil Scott
Mm-hmm.
Heron.
Right.
When I met the last poets, they brought him to my birthday party. And I see these cats walk in, and I'm like, this can't be real. So I'm just going to close my eyes. And when I open them again, you know, it's not going to be. And they were there. And Gil Scott Heron, I'm at SOB's, a club in New York. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I had always wanted to meet him. So I go downstairs and he's sitting down. And I look at him and I'm like, okay, I'm a fanboy. So what? And he gets up and he walks over to me. And I go to shake his hand. He pushes my hand aside and hugs me.
Oh God, man.
This is Gil Scott Heron. This ain't Easy Mo B or.
Wow. It's big.
And I told him, I said, without you, there'd be no me. Without you, there'd be no us. Without
Mm.
you, there'd be no hip hop, period. And I said,
Mm.
I'm not copying what nobody said. I'm telling you what I know.
You know what's really interesting, Ernie? I'm gonna tell you. Um, I bet you there are a lot of people that have that same sentiment about you, right? When you look at the work that you've done and your body of work, I'm being serious, right? In terms of you get
Let me share something that happened to me today,
okay.
and it almost made me cry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've been posting a lot of stuff on my Facebook page.
Yeah, and for the record, lately you've been going like ham with the stuff that you've been posting, and
I
I've just
got
lost
four
my
and a
mind.
half million views in 7 days. I
I
don't even
believe
know
it.
what those numbers. Wait a second. This guy writes to me. He said, Ernie, I'm 40 or 50 years old, whatever. He said, and it's an honor to be able to talk to you. So up until that point, it's okay, cool. He says, I remember being 8 years old and going to the candy store and picking up Word Up magazines and tearing your pictures out and putting them in my jacket. That's like, I told him, I said, that 8 year old will always be in my brain, living rent free. He said, and now I get a chance to talk to you. And I'm like, 8 year old boy goes to the
Mm,
store, tears out the pictures.
yeah, yeah. That's
I
my point,
remember
man.
I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I did a show there,
Uh-huh.
and the local library, asked me to come and speak because I had a book, uh, "Who Shot You," coming out at the same time. So they asked me to come and you know sign books.
Mm-hmm.
I said okay, because they had a bunch of books and a bunch of people. So this woman comes up to me and she said, "You're Ernie Paniccioli." I said, "Yes, I am." She said, "It's nice to meet you." I said, "Thank you." She said, "I'm the head librarian." I said, "Okay." She said, "I don't know how you're going to take this as an honor or an insult, but yours is the most stolen book we ever had in the library. So there's a guy waiting for me to sign a book. Tall guy, professor looking. And he says to her, he says, "Do you know who I am?" And she looked, she said, "No, I don't." She said, he said, "I'm your boss. I'm the head librarian for all of Ohio." He said, "In all of Ohio, this is the most stolen book." So between an 8-year-old boy and being the most stolen book in the library.
No, that's a legendary status, Ernie. That's legendary status. That automatically makes you an icon, bro. That has to. It has to.
But I don't even know where. I don't have a place to put that in my head. So
Oh man. When did you sort of realize that you were truly capturing history? Um, did that like because really at that point you were just kind of going with your vision and what you thought and what you felt, right? But at some point in time, you're like, oh wait a second, I'm doing something special here, or something important.
okay. Sister says I don't talk about her enough. I don't put her in my books. I don't mention her, but I'm going to put the sister out.
Mm-hmm.
So this way, when she sees it, or if she sees it, she'll know. Growing up, I didn't have a father. I didn't have a male figure. No big deal. That's
Yeah.
not alpha and omega. So many of us didn't have a male figure, didn't have a father figure. So I adopted Malcolm X as a father figure. How he stood up, his courage. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't even courage, it was just, I'm here. It
Right.
was his presence. It was, you knew, okay.
Yep.
Years go by, I become a photographer. I do what I do. I speak how I speak. I empower people. I uplift people. I try to unify people. I try to cut through the layers of nonsense. And I'm going into the Apollo, and this brother comes up to me and he says to me, "Brother Ernie." I said, "Yes." He says, "You know who I am." I said, "Yeah, you were with the group Too Black, Too Strong. I photographed you." He said,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, I got a message for you." I said, "Okay." He said, "Malcolm X's daughters want to meet you." So I said, "Where do you buy your weed?"
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Excuse me?" I said, "Come on, man. Why would they want to meet me?" I thought he was, and he didn't look sick. He didn't look like he was
Right. Right.
too black, too strong is not, you know, gummy bears.
No. No.
So he said, "No, I'm serious." He said, "Give me your number and they'll call you." So I called, we spoke, I met them, and they began to take me on as a male figure. And when they had events, like when they made a stamp for their father or the Mother's Week, things like that. And I always keep that on the low, but they're telling me that I should speak on it. So, okay. So that was a signal to me that maybe, you know, it mattered. But when their mother was murdered, I was part of the limos and, that whole thing. And I went to get the one daughter from her apartment
Right.
in Harlem. And I go upstairs and she says, "Come in." And I go in, and there's a foyer and a hallway.
Mm-hmm.
Foyer, there's a little altar with a candle on it. And there's a picture of her mother, a
Yep.
picture of her father, and a picture of me.
Okay.
And at that point, I realized that anything I had done before had to be quadrupled or multiplied. Any
Yeah.
effort that I made to unify, educate, uplift had to be, because this is something beyond us. This is ancestors. This is DNA. These are things that I don't even want to give a name to.
Right.
And what happened, uh, that seeing that altar with these two great,
Hmm.
incredible, selfless human beings changed my whole self perspective and my whole worth. And it made me realize that whatever I'm doing, I got to, double, triple, quadruple.
Yeah.
And because I was born with a certain size, a certain voice, a certain look, definitely not pretty, but,
Yeah, but
intimidating.
you
So
did good.
I hope I answered your question.
No, no, you did because I think what you really did is provide really good perspective on So there's always something behind what we do, right? And that perspective that you provided kind of gives some insight into even what motivated you and kept you going, right? Because again, you're doing something that's never ever. You were the pioneer. True, you were the hip hop photographer, the hip hop pioneer. You were the guy. That's what they call you. I'm not making this up, Ernie. Like this is the out there, and nothing you haven't heard already. And I think you get those accolades and you get those nicknames, and they call you a alarm, the big red alarm clock, and all these things because of the impact, right? That's what we're talking about. And you didn't hold back. So I'm bring it back to the podcast. We talk about what audacity is. That it's all of those things. You didn't hold back. Even though you didn't know where it was going to go, you did it anyways, right?
Well, there's another part to it,
Uh
and
huh.
that's that you have to be more than a photographer. You have to be more than a rapper. You have to be more than a dancer, a singer, an actor,
Yeah.
a doctor, a priest. You have to be more. And that more is in us. And I think it's that more. And I'm going to give you an example of where more is a bad thing
Hmm.
and where more is a good thing.
Hmm.
More is a bad thing when you want more. I got 12 women, I need 12 more. I
Right.
got 12 cars, I need 12. No,
Right.
more. That that's that's like showing a child shiny coins. That's more is when you're feeding your family and help feed the family next door
Right.
and help be a father to kids that have no father, so that's the more. So you got to
Right.
be careful which more, okay? And uh, that's the more that you have to look for.
Yeah.
And if you're given certain gifts,
Hmm.
voice, size, and intellect,
Yep.
you have to share it
Yeah.
because you keeping that gift. Also, I know one thing I'll admit guilt for is that one thing that people tell me, especially people in a certain age group now, that before you, we didn't know what they looked like. We heard about Grandmaster Flash. We didn't know what he looked like.
Hmm.
About a year, 2 years ago, I was at, uh, I think, New York University, and they gave me uh, Ernie Paniccioli Day in New York, which was cool. Nobody, I don't believe that, but it happened.
Yeah.
And Dougie Fresh and Grandmaster Flash were there.
Okay.
And Flash said, before he talks, let me say something. He said, all these years I've been rude to him. Every time he tried to take a picture, I would mess with him. And now I realize without that picture, there'd be no visual history.
Mm.
So I smiled. Everybody applauded. I said, wait a minute, Flash, what did I always tell you?
Yeah.
I told you I'm going to take the picture anyway. It don't matter. I said, you never intimidated me. I got the pictures anyway, in spite
Right.
of you. And now we're both happy that I did.
They
And the
did.
whole room just cracked up because they saw this confluence, this meeting between two men who really loved each other and
Hmm.
respected each other. But, each had, you know, you can't take that picture.
Yep.
And me, you can't stop me from taking that
That's
picture.
right.
So you had, you know, but there was never that, like I'm going to clock this guy. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always, how far can you push? So it was a brotherly thing. So
Yes.
that's a particular
Yep. Ernie, I have to ask, from even a cultural standpoint. Here you come in as this indigenous person, right, into a space of black people where their black music is being played and hip hop. Was there any thought in terms of how you were different, or you just belonged and you didn't think about that? You just were yourself.
I grew up in Brooklyn.
There you go.
Guru said it better than I could ever say it. Brooklyn, Brooklyn, the planet. Okay. I was so used to being around everybody.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, and that's not to say parts of Brooklyn are not isolated. Parts
Right.
of Brooklyn are like South Africa was.
Hmm.
Parts of Brooklyn are like Alabama was 40 years ago. That ain't going to change. And parts of America are still longing for the good old days.
Yes.
And I don't know. I'm not even going to go down that trip. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, there was absolutely no difference. And if anything, uh, the brothers and sisters almost all have a grandmother, a great grandmother, somebody, because there's a chapter of our history that's
Hmm.
been clouded. It's
Right.
like, how did the people put into a condition of slavery when they were no longer slaves? How did they coexist? How did they exist? How did they get food?
Hmm.
They weren't given jobs, that's for damn sure. They weren't given education, that's for damn sure. They weren't
Right.
given medical treatment, that's for damn sure. They weren't given housing, they weren't given nothing. That's why, certain things are necessary now, called
Got you.
reparations. Reparations is two words. It's
Yes.
repair the nation,
Yes.
repair the nation. Yeah, okay. And um, almost everybody in the Black community has an affinity with indigenous people.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Black people, where did they come from? They came from nations. I'm going to say something about Jews. And I said this, I remember speaking somewhere. And I said, I'm
Hmm.
going to talk about Jews now. And you could hear all the professors in the room and everybody.
Gas. Yep.
What were the Jews? This is not argument. What were the Jews? What did the Jews say they were in the Bibles and the holy books? What did they call themselves? And there were 12 of them.
Oh, the disciples. Oh, prophets.
Tribes.
Tribes. Yes. 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 12 tribes of Judah.
What are
Yes.
indigenous people? What were Black people? Where they came from? What was the system called? Tribes. We
Yes.
were all tribal people.
Yes. Yes.
We've
Yes.
forgotten it because now we're intellectual. We're Christians. We're this. We're that.
Right.
Tribes.
Same place.
And when I say that in the colleges, everybody, oh, thank God, he didn't go out on that limb and saw it off. No, what are Jews? Jews are tribes, the 12
Right.
tribes.
Right. Right.
No,
Right. Right. Right.
think
No,
about
no, I understand. I'm really glad you made that point. You referenced Guru, and I even referenced Biggie, and it sort of makes me think about, we've got a lot of fallen brothers, right? Fallen, many are gone way, way too soon. Many of them you've had relationships, right? The Tupacs of the world, and the Biggies and the Gurus, and I can go on about these people who are no longer with
that.
us. Big,
Master
big,
J, Aaliyah,
yeah, Leah, yeah, like
Left Eye.
there's so many. Um, if there's one that you could have one more conversation with one more time, is there one you could identify that you'd want to talk to again?
Wow. I think that's the hardest question I've ever been asked.
Hmm.
Uh, hmm. Well, I've never talked about it openly. I'm not going to now. One night there was a Madison Square Garden, which is the big stadium. They had an AIDS benefit,
Okay.
and there was a whole bunch of people performing. And I go out there with my camera, and a bunch of mutts tell me I can't take pictures because I'm using a flash. And I wasn't in the best of frame of mind, and I let it go, and I walked away, and I didn't take pictures. And it was Biggie, Run DMC, it was several, and Usher, uh,
Mm.
Britney Spears, a lot of people. And
Yeah.
I didn't bring a flash, and I mean, I brought a flash, and I didn't want to shoot without a flash. And I said, okay, I'm just gonna go. So I go outside. I sit there with Chuck D and some people and the Ghetto Boys, and we're sitting there. And I look, and somebody's waving to me, and it's Biggie. So I go up to Biggie, and I said, "Yo, man." He said, "How come you weren't taking pictures?" I said, "They're giving me the BS." He said, "Okay." So what's up with you?
Hmm.
Hang out for a while. We'll get some flicks in. He said, "No, man, I gotta go." I said, "Where you going?" He said, "I gotta go." He said, and this is just before he was killed. He knew he was going to get killed. And
Mm.
my last memory of him is him running down the aisle, which is like a 5-minute run to get to his car.
Mm.
And if I knew, I would have warned him.
Right.
And so many things he shared with me that I would never share because
Right.
it wasn't for everybody. And he's somebody I think I would talk to again. And I
Mm.
remember um, the last time I saw Guru, he came up to me and he held me. He didn't just hug me, he held me and he cried in my arms.
Mm.
And he said, "I'm going to make it, brother. I'm going to make it. I'm getting healthier. I'm getting stronger." And he cried. And I had never seen that Guru before.
Right.
And I said, "Call me. Let's get together. I can work with you." And right after that, he passed.
Mm.
And if I had known, somebody's got footage of me and him speaking at a college together. I've never seen it. If I had time, I would like to talk to him. And I mean, I realized, but I didn't realize, and he was so young and vibrant.
Hmm.
I would have I would have really forgot what the hell I was doing and just sit down with him.
Right.
'Cause I've been around alcoholics my whole life and people with different drugs and so on and so forth. And the one thing that they all need to do for you to help them is to open to you.
Hmm.
And he opened to me. So there was that opening, and I could have worked once they opened and trust. So yes, that's probably the hardest question I was ever asked.
Mm. No, well, again, when I think about the history, and I appreciate the very thoughtful and honest, heartfelt response. Thank you for that. But again, for me, when you look at the history that you had, this was more than you just snapping photos, right? This was real for you, and I know, and you and I have talked about that, so I know that to be true, right? And so no, I certainly can see that that was important to you. When you sort of look now and you see, you see some of these are the Jay-Z's of the world, the Will Smiths, the Queen Latifahs, who are iconic and worldwide international. To think, when you see them, I look at how proud of you because you were there in their early days when, you saw that one photo show with Jay-Z with his teeth all messed up and he's got, right? That's an iconic one right there, right? But I mean, you think about those days and where they came from and you were there. When you
If
look at
you
them
look,
now, what do you think?
if you look at IG,
Yep.
Will Smith and Latifah released not one but two videos talking about my book, Hip Hop at the End of the World.
Hmm.
Did you see that?
Yep.
It's on there. I was like, and nobody told me. My daughter told me. She says, "Dad, did you see this video?" I said, "No." What? It's Will Smith. Okay. And I was just standing there. I was like, you know, and then it hit me because Latifah lived in my city. And we were always together one way or another, this event, that event, or just going to get a coffee or whatever. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. For if there's a collector out there, I have a book and it's called Stark, Kiss the Ring.
Yeah.
It weighs 6 pounds. There are only 100 in the world. I won't tell you how many are already sold to museums. This costs $1,000. But there's never been a book like this. I have sports figures for you.
Mm,
I have the leaders of the American Indian movement. I have
mm.
Dr. Betty Shabazz. I have this guy, I forget who he is, but I heard he's a pretty good writer.
Yeah, yes. Wow. And
James
again, a
Webb.
cultural icon. So the people that the photos that you captured, we're not talking about fly by night folks that were in and out. You literally major players in the industry, Jan. Wow, wow, Eric.
Yeah.
Wow.
My book is called Stark, Kiss the Ring, and there's only 100 copies in the world. It's $1,000. It's worth it. You might know these cats. I doubt it. They're not
Yeah.
from Canada, but you might know them.
Uh. Oh, Shaq. Yeah, Oakley.
You
That's to look
might have
good.
heard you
But
might
it's
have
funny.
heard of them.
What's funny because they're so old, right? They're not like they're like now they're so young, I should say, right? I
Arthur
said, yeah,
Ashe, tennis champion.
yeah.
I don't know who the guy is smiling, but he's been
Because you're not
working.
used to seeing him smile. That's why.
He would ask me when we were shooting, he said, "You want me to move to the left?" I said, "Mike, whatever you want." He said, "Quit playing with me." He was okay. How about these two cats? I know I'm going to test your sports skill. I
Okay,
heard you're
let's see.
pretty good with sports.
Let's
You
see.
don't
Let's
know.
see.
You know either of these cats?
Yeah, one guy, MJ. Yeah, yeah. And Clyde, the other guy likes to dress nice. He's got all the nice suits, right? Clyde Frazier.
I wish I had that hat. I don't know. And
So
his,
would you say then that this book is oh man right, it begins and ends right with him, Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest.
this book is great. And let me make a promise that anybody who buys the book will be rewarded because years from now they could sell it for 10 times what they pay for it.
Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, Ernie, listen, I'm always and always have been in awe every time. Uh, the stories that you have, there's Willie getting jiggy with it. Yeah, yeah. Back in the day, yeah, Jada, yeah. No, I always am in awe. Always, your deep history, and I'm so glad that and that's one of the reasons why I want to have you get you on here and talk about this because there's a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. where he talks about taking that first step, even though the stairway is dark and you don't know where it's going, you step anyways, right? And it's so I think of that a little bit when I look at your journey where you just stepped in it and
Brother, the Martin Luther King, there's a whole bunch of stuff they put on him.
yep,
I remember listening to him on the radio when they had him on the radio,
yep,
and he was talking, and he said something, and it changed my life. He said, "Not everyone is going to be famous. Not
right,
everyone is going to be rich." And he said, "But if you sweep the floor, if you sweep the street, sweep the street so that the angels look down and say," and that just changed me. It changed
yeah,
my DNA because if
yeah,
you're going to be something as, you know, unimportant as a hip hop photographer, if you're going to be, and when I heard that from Dr. King, it changed me.
yeah,
If you're going to sweep the street so that the angels look from in heaven look down and say, "Wow." Now, what could be more menial than
yes,
sweeping a street?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Think about it.
That's powerful, powerful.
Think about the world if we didn't sweep the street.
Yep.
Think about the guy that mops the floor in the hospital and 1,000 other things. But do it in such a way it makes the angels look down and smile.
Well, you definitely, my
And that's
friend, you
what I want to
definitely did
share
that,
with your
man.
audience. Whatever you do it.
Yeah. Ernie, you definitely did that. Listen, I really do have so much appreciation and thankfulness I mean, certainly spending the time with me here now, but
Absolutely.
just for who you are and what you meant to so many people. Again, I've deep reverence for you, my friend, man. Like, honestly, I'm like, man, I gotta get Ernie on here. And you remember, I sent you that message. I'm like, yo, we gotta do. It was almost like Ernie was almost like I had this awakening. Like, what am I doing? Where's Ernie? Ernie's supposed to be here, right? And so I'm glad that we made this happen. I appreciate the journey. For someone's trying to get their hands on one of those books and they want to get one, where can we send them?
Just reach out to Brother Ernie at Gmail.
Okay,
That's it, Brother Ernie at Gmail.
got
And
you.
um, there's only 100 of them. I won't tell you how many are sold, but they're going, and they're going to be worth many times whatever you pay for it. And if nothing else, I had a brother buy one last week,
Hmm.
and I wrote to him and I said, who do you want me to make this out to? To you or just sign my name? He said, neither. He said, I want it to be left to my children as, a gift for, so I thought that meant so much because he wanted it to be a legacy gift.
Yes, 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 yes.
I was
Yeah.
like, wow,
And
I
you
could
know what?
never
It's
get a
funny.
book like this.
And it's funny. I'm glad you mentioned legacy because that's a really we didn't touch on it specifically. I think we alluded to and talked around it. But that is woven into everything that you've done because it is about legacy, right? It is when you sometimes it's so funny when you think about it. When you take a picture in that moment, you're not thinking legacy. You're not thinking long term. You're not thinking like that. And it's not till you had that perspective where you look back and you start, you're like, man, I'm glad to your point, to your story with Grandmaster Flash. I'm glad I took that photo. I'm glad I did that in that moment, right? So,
Glad I dissed him that night, but he dissed me. He said, yeah, I always get, I said, brother, you never stopped me from taking a picture. And I got the pictures in
that's right.
spite of you. And now we're both happy, and the two of us cracked up. And I think that the love in that moment
Yes.
radiated through the whole room because people were screaming. People were just like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was like playing chess or, you know, it was just a moment because it was us both acknowledging,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
something.
Ernie,
But
thank you for doing this, my friend. Thank you.
oh, please. But think about here's the part that's crazy about Grandmaster Flash and uh,
Yeah.
the people who um, think about this. You got a washing machine. Imagine if your kid started playing with the washing machine. You'd say the kid is out of his bird. Kid is nuts because every day he's playing with the washing machine.
Hmm.
Well, there was a cat named Grand Wizard Theodore. He
Okay. Yeah.
started playing with his mother's record player,
Hmm.
and that invented scratching. And Grandmaster Flash hooked up different things, a record player to, and then playing with it. Come on,
Yep.
man, you don't do that. That's my record player. You're my
That's
kid.
it. Don't mess my stuff up.
Don't touch that. That's
Yeah.
mine. What are you
Yeah.
doing? Not having the vision to understand that it would create a ripple throughout the universe
That's right.
so that every part of the world now has turntables.
That's it.
Come on. The
Yeah.
kid's playing with my record player. I'm gonna put some man, get away from there before I smack you.
That's it. Don't touch my stuff.
Imagine if he said, I can see the future and thousands of people will make a living and call themselves DJs and
That's it.
it'd be mess. Boy, you better not be smoking that thing.
That's right. And
Think
here we are.
multiply that by everything around us in terms of what we block without realizing we're blocking.
That's right. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. I was telling someone the other day, and I'm a father and blessed with three kids who are all grown up now, and I have that they're all adults. We can have conversations, whatnot, I guess, and you would concern, I'm sure as well. You have some perspective, and when I look at my kids and those things that they do, and I think every parent, there's this thing about their child that drove them crazy. It's like every time they did this, I hate when you do that, and it drives them crazy. But I'm gonna tell you, Ernie, that thing that drove you crazy, that wanted to make you pull your hair out, ends up being the leadership quality or skill or trait that people look to them and said, I'm going to follow you. I'm going to believe in you. You inspire me. Right. And so because of that, it's as hard as it is as a parent to do it. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's easy, but it's hard. You got to nurture what they bring to the table because you don't know where it'll go. And so, here you are, you get your kids messing with your turntable and you want to say, get your hands off and leave it alone, but you nurture that and you never know what it'll become. And that's kind of what
The world.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like I created a new job title. There was no job title, hip hop photographer.
You made that up. Yeah, you got that.
I didn't
and it's not that you made it up. You developed that, right? It's not like you said, and it wasn't. And here's the key: it wasn't with your words. You didn't say, "Hey, folks, call me." You just did it and became as a result of that. And actions that shows how powerful our actions are. And so, I love it, man, Ernie. I love it,
brother. We have to understand, and I'm not gonna. I'm going to leave your listeners with something.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to look back and say, "Oh, damn, we got company." We got company.
Mm-hmm.
And those of us in the indigenous world always respected that company. We always knew, and we called them certain names. There were certain.
Yep.
So we have company now. And these demons who are in charge, who created slavery, who created the false teachings and the drug cultures and everything else,
mm-hmm.
are trying to hide it. But over and over and over and over, I'm seeing pictures. I'm hearing people tell me, "Ernie, so we got company." And they're here for two reasons.
Mm-hmm.
They're here to let us know they're here, but they're also here to try to guide us away from what they already perceive we're going to do to mess this up.
Right.
We got one of the best planets in the whole universe. We got sun and sky and air and water.
Yeah.
So we have company, people. And when you got company coming, there's certain things you got to do. You clean up your house.
Yeah.
Clean the kitchen. You rearrange the living room a little bit so they'll be more comfortable. And clean the kitchen because they're going to eat there. You make sure the bathroom's looking nice. So we got company.
Yeah, we do.
We do. And don't let all these distractions. That's what they are. They're distractions. And they serve a purpose. I hate to be the one to tell you that things that are happening, but they remind us that we are not yet free. They remind us that we are not yet where we need to be. They remind us. And now, look at my hand. Okay, this means okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what this means?
Mm-hmm.
You know what this means?
Yeah.
Well, I got something that can change the world. It's a hand symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be us.
That's it. Ernie, thank you.
Tribes, all the
beautiful.
Tribes, all the right here.
Yes. Unity, come together.
There's the tribes, even with the animals.
Ernie, this has been awesome. Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
I didn't put you to sleep?
No. My goodness. No chance. Never have, never will. Never will. Back we are on the podcast. If you're a creator or leader building something meaningful, here's the takeaway. Don't wait for permission to define your title. Ernie didn't apply to become a hip hop photographer. He created that role by doing the work when nobody else saw the value. That's audacity. What I love most about this conversation is that he understood what what feels ordinary in the moment can become extraordinary over time. A photo, a relationship, a conversation. That's how legacy is built. If this episode resonated with you, I encourage you to connect with Brother Ernie, especially if you're interested in hitting him up for his limited edition book, Stark, Kiss the Ring. Only 100 copies in the world. That's legacy in print, no doubt about that. And here's the analogy I want to leave you with. Ernie calls himself the big red alarm clock. Alarm clock doesn't tell you what to wear. It doesn't tell you, where to go. It just simply wakes you up. And once you're awake, what you do is next. It's all on you. So the question becomes, are you hitting the snooze on your calling? If this episode worked up something inside you, share it, send it to another creator, leave a review, because your audacious growth doesn't just impact you, it impacts the entire culture. Until next time, thank you for joining us here, and live life audaciously.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion, my words got power, my thoughts have action, motivation, stay gracious, that's greatness.